The most dangerous day of your life is the day you decide to live it by how you feel. Because if your feelings get the vote, they will eventually want the throne. And once your mood becomes the boss, your life starts to shrink down to whatever is comfortable, whatever's easy, whatever's familiar. You know, feelings were never meant to be leaders. They're great counselors. They can send signals. They can tell you when you're tired, when you're hurt, when you need to pay attention, but they make a lousy manager. And here's the truth I've learned. You don't get paid for your mood. You get paid for your actions. Let me tell you what most people try to do, and it's a costly mistake. As soon as I feel motivated, I'll start. As soon as I feel confident, I'll apply. As soon as I feel inspired, I'll get serious. That's like a farmer saying, as soon as I feel like spring, I'll plant. Seasons don't take orders, and neither do moods. Some days you wake up and the sun is shining in your heart. Other days you wake up and it's cloudy for no good reason. If you tie your future to the weather in your chest, you'll have a very unpredictable life. Now, I'm not asking you to pretend you don't have moods. I'm asking you to stop negotiating with them. Because the moment you begin bargaining with your emotions, you hand them authority. You say, if you're happy, I'll do the work. And your mood says, well, I'm not happy today. Then you say, if you're calm, I'll have the conversation. And your mood says, I'm not calm today. Next thing you know, your mood has a full-time job and you're unemployed. Here's what I've learned. The best day to start is not the day you feel great. The best day to start is the day you decide. I remember being in that place where life feels like it's sitting on your shoulders. I was about 25, and I was behind on money, behind on confidence, behind on results. I had a handful of reasons why my life wasn't working, and I could have delivered them with emotion. I could have given you a speech about why it was hard, why it was unfair, why it was complicated. And for a while, that's what I lived on, reasons. But you can't build a future on reasons. You can explain your past with reasons, but you can't fund your dreams with them. Then one day I met a man who asked me a simple question, not a complicated question, not a question with a lot of psychology behind it, just a question that put a mirror in my face. He said, how's it going? And I started to give him the usual report. Well, things are... And I had a few words that sounded like I was making progress, but he kept looking at me like he could see through the speech. Finally, I said what was true. It's not going well. And he said, then it's time for you to change. Not your town, not your job title, not your parents, not the government, you. And you know what hit me? I realized I had been waiting to feel like changing, and I didn't. That's when I learned this lesson. You don't wait until you feel like it to do what's right. You do what's right, and your feelings catch up later. You don't wait to feel like reading to become educated. You read. You don't wait to feel like saving to become financially strong. You save. You don't wait to feel like making the call to build a business. You make the call. And if you ask, well, what if I still don't feel like it? Here's my answer. Do it anyway. And do it with a little faith. Faith is not pretending. Faith is acting before the evidence shows up. Because moods are like children sometimes. If you let them, they'll run the house. They'll eat candy for dinner and stay up all night and then complain the next morning that life is hard. And if you let your mood make decisions, it will choose short-term comfort and then hand you long-term pain. That's the trade. Comfort now, cost later. And most people don't see it because the bill doesn't show up the same day. The bill shows up weeks later, months later, years later. It shows up as regret. It shows up as lost strength. It shows up as, why didn't I start when I could have? You know, people say motivation is my problem. No. If motivation is your problem, it's because action is missing. Motivation doesn't come first. Motion comes first. Life rewards movement. When you start doing the disciplines, something strange happens. Your mind starts to respect you. Your heart starts to calm down. Your confidence starts to grow. Not because you gave yourself a pep talk, but because you gave yourself proof. The truth is, your mood listens to your track record. And when your track record says, I do what I said I would do, Your mood starts behaving better. It doesn't get perfect, but it gets more cooperative. Let me put it like this. If you're waiting to feel brave before you take action, you'll be waiting a long time. Courage is not a feeling that shows up and gives you a hug. Courage is what you do while your knees are still shaking. If you're waiting to feel disciplined before you take action, you'll be waiting forever. Discipline is not a feeling. Discipline is a decision repeated and repeated and repeated until it becomes part of who you are. And the real breakthrough is when you realize you can't control the weather, but you can control the sail. Some days the wind is with you and you feel strong, you feel sharp, you feel ready. Great. Use those days. But what about the other days? What about the day you wake up and everything feels heavy? What about the day you feel discouraged, irritated, tired? That's the day your future is decided. Because anybody can do the right thing when it feels good. The great question is, can you do the right thing when it doesn't feel good? I used to think discipline was a harsh word. It sounded like punishment. But here's what I learned. Discipline is a form of kindness you practice on yourself. It's not about being hard on yourself. It's about refusing to abandon yourself. It's saying, I am worth the effort. It's saying my dreams deserve some structure. Discipline is simply the ability to give yourself a command and then obey it. And if that sounds intense, let me ask you, who else do you obey? Your boss, your alarm clock, your bills, your calendar, your obligations? You're already obeying something. The question is whether you can start obeying your own best intentions. Now, I'm going to get personal with you for a moment because you deserve the truth, not just a nice talk. There were seasons when I didn't feel like doing the basics. I didn't feel like getting up early. I didn't feel like reading when I could relax. I didn't feel like making the call when I could avoid rejection. I didn't feel like saving money when I could spend it. And if I had obeyed my mood, I would have stayed the same. And if you stay the same, life doesn't get better, it just gets older. That's all. You don't want life to just get older. You want life to get richer, wiser, stronger. Some people think the enemy is failure. No, failure is often a teacher. The enemy is inconsistency. Inconsistency is what happens when moods are in charge. One day you're on, one day you're off. One day you're committed, one day you're confused. One day you're inspired, one day you're invisible. And your life starts to look like a business that opens whenever the owner feels like it. That business is not going to last. And a life lived that way won't last either, not in quality, not in pride. Here's another truth I've learned. You don't have to feel good to do good. You just have to do good long enough to feel different. And some of your best days will come after your toughest mornings. But you won't meet those days unless you move through the morning with action. Action is the bridge. Action takes you from where you are to where you want to be. Mood won't build that bridge. Mood is too busy giving opinions. Action lays bricks. So let's talk about what you can do when you don't feel like it, because that's where your life changes. And I'm not talking about heroic acts. Most of life is not won by heroic acts. It's won by small acts done faithfully. Here's what I suggest. Create what I call a minimum standard day. A minimum standard day is what you do no matter what kind of mood you're in, not what you do when you feel inspired. What you do when you feel ordinary, when you feel cranky, when you feel low. You decide, even on a bad day, I will do these few things. It could be 10 pages of reading. It could be a 20-minute walk. It could be making 2 calls. It could be writing 1 page. It could be putting away a small amount of money. It could be saying one kind thing in your home, even when you don't feel warm. Small, but real. Because if you don't pick your minimum, your mood will pick your minimum. And your mood's minimum is usually 0. Your mood loves 0. 0 effort, 0 risk, 0 discomfort. But 0 has a terrible future attached to it. And the problem is, 0 feels fine today. It's tomorrow that gets you. Tomorrow plus tomorrow plus tomorrow. That's how people drift. Not by a big disaster, by 100 small surrenders to, I don't feel like it. Now, some people say, but I'm overwhelmed. I understand. Overwhelm is real. So here's what I've learned. When you're overwhelmed, don't ask yourself to do everything. Ask yourself to start something. Start is powerful. Start changes the room. Start changes your blood. Start changes your identity. And the best tool I know is what I call the 5-minute start. If you don't feel like doing the work, do it for 5 minutes. Just 5. Not to trick yourself, just to honor the truth that your life is built on beginnings. Most of the time, once you start, you continue. And even if you stop after 5 minutes, you kept the agreement. You proved you're the kind of person who moves. And let me tell you something else. Willpower is not the main strategy. Environment is a strategy. If you keep your phone beside your bed and you want to read more, you're fighting with a machine designed to steal your attention. That's not a fair fight. If you keep junk food in the house and you want to be healthy, you're asking your mood to be stronger than your pantry. Some days it will be, most days it won't. So arrange your environment to support your actions. Put the book where you can see it. Put the workout shoes by the door. Put the savings on automatic. Put the calendar where you have to face it. Make the right action easier to start. And here's one that will change your life if you take it seriously. Keep small promises to yourself. You know, people talk about confidence like it's a mysterious gift. It isn't. Confidence is the reputation you have with yourself. If you keep telling yourself you'll do something and you don't do it, your mind starts treating your words like background noise. Your own promises stop meaning anything. And that's a tragic day, because the first person who should believe you is you. So start with promises you can keep. I will read 5 pages, keep it. I will walk 10 minutes, keep it. I will make 1 call, keep it. Then you can increase the promise. But you have to rebuild trust with yourself the same way you build trust with anyone, by being reliable. Let me tell you a little secret about emotions. They love evidence. When you give yourself evidence that you act with integrity, your emotions start to settle. When you give yourself evidence that you can face discomfort, your fear starts to shrink. When you give yourself evidence that you can handle hard conversations, your anxiety starts to relax. You don't talk fear out of your life. You act it out. And you don't talk discipline into your life. You practice it into your life. Now watch your language, because language is where moods hide. People say, I can't. And most of the time that's not true. They can, they just don't want to today. And that's fine, just be honest. Honesty is power. When you say I can't, you put yourself in a cage. When you say I won't, you put yourself in front of a decision. And decisions can change. So start speaking like a responsible adult. Say, I don't feel like it, but I'm going to do it anyway. That one sentence will toughen your backbone and soften your regret. Here's another thing I learned, and it's a big one. Don't wait for mood, set an appointment. If you only do what you feel like, your life becomes a hobby. But if you set an appointment, your life becomes a profession. Professionals show up. Professionals honor the time. Professionals do the work even when they're not in the mood. That's why they get paid. That's why they win. So treat your goals like appointments. At 7, I read. At 8, I practice. At 9, I make the calls. And if your mood complains, let it complain in the passenger seat while you drive. And if you're thinking, but what about rest? Rest is wise. Rest is necessary. I'm not talking about grinding yourself into the ground. I'm talking about being the kind of person who decides intentionally. Rest should be chosen, not drifted into. There's a big difference between rest and escape. Rest restores you. Escape steals from you. Rest says I'm going to recover so I can return stronger. Escape says I'm going to hide so I don't have to face my life. And your mood loves escape because escape feels like relief. But relief and results are not the same thing. Now let's bring this into your work, because that's where many people lose the battle. Work has days that are exciting and days that are dull. Work has days when people appreciate you and days when nobody notices. If you need applause to perform, you'll be inconsistent. The truth is, your bank account doesn't care about your mood. Your customers don't care about your mood. Your team doesn't care about your mood. Life does not pay for how you feel. It pays for what you do. So you build a reputation with action. You become the person people can count on, not because you're always cheerful, but because you're always dependable. And bring it into your relationships, because this is where it gets real. There are days when patience flows, and there are days when patience is work. If you only act loving when you feel loving, you'll have a fragile home. But if you decide, I will speak with respect even when I'm irritated, you build a strong home. And you know what happens? Respectful action often changes the mood in the room. One person acting with maturity can calm down, two people acting like children. Be that person. Not because you're perfect, because you're committed. Bring it into your health. Health is not built by moods. Nobody feels like exercising every day. Nobody feels like eating well at every meal. But you don't have to win every moment. You have to win most moments. You have to have standards. Standards are what you fall back on when moods are unstable. Standards are the rails on the bridge. They keep you from going over the edge when you're tired, when you're tempted, when you're stressed. Decide your standards, then live them. Now, I want to give you a thought that might sting a little, but it's meant to wake you up, not beat you up. If you let your mood decide your actions, you'll eventually let your mood decide your identity. You'll start saying, I'm just not a disciplined person. I'm just not a confident person. I'm just not a consistent person. No, you're a person who has practiced inconsistency, that's all. And anything practiced can be practiced differently. You can become different, not by wishing, not by waiting, by doing. You know what's exciting about that? It means you're not trapped. It means you're not stuck with who you've been. It means your future is not held hostage by your past moods. Because every day you get to cast a vote. Every action is a vote for the person you're becoming. When you read instead of scroll, you vote for wisdom. When you save instead of spend, you vote for stability. When you make the call instead of avoiding, you vote for courage. When you apologize instead of defending, you vote for character. You're always voting. The question is, are you voting intentionally or are you letting your mood vote for you? Let me tell you something I've learned about self-respect. Self-respect is not a feeling you wait for. It's a result you earn. And it's earned by acting in alignment with what you know is right. If you know you should get your finances in order and you do it, you feel stronger. If you know you should learn and you learn, you feel sharper. If you know you should take care of your body and you do, you feel more alive. Self-respect grows when your actions match your values. And when self-respect grows, your mood has less power to knock you around. And here's a little one-liner I've kept close. You don't have to like it to do it. You just have to do it to like what it does. The first step is not always joyful. The first step is often awkward. The first step is often quiet. But the first step starts a chain reaction. And chain reactions change lives. Now, I'm going to challenge you in a very practical way, because if all we do is talk, we've just entertained ourselves. Pick one area of your life where moods have been calling the shots. Just one. Maybe it's your health. Maybe it's your finances. Maybe it's your marriage. Maybe it's your business. Maybe it's your study. One area. And decide on one no matter what action you will take for the next 30 days. Not 10 actions. One action. Make it so clear you can't misunderstand it. I will walk 20 minutes. I will read 10 pages. I will write 1 page. I will save $20. I will make 1 call. I will have 1 honest conversation. Something measurable, something real. Then do it even when you don't feel like it. Especially when you don't feel like it. Because that's when you're building the muscle. That's when you're training your character. That's when you're teaching your mood a new role. You're saying, you're allowed to ride along, but you're not allowed to drive. And if you miss a day, don't turn it into a life sentence. Don't start that sad story. Just return the next day. The goal is not perfection. The goal is control of your actions. And as you do this, watch what happens. Watch how your confidence starts to come back. Watch how your energy starts to rise. Watch how your mind stops arguing as much. Because when you act with consistency, you reduce inner conflict. Your heart stops fighting your calendar. Your mind stops fighting your standards. You begin to feel the peace that comes from integrity. Not the peace of having no problems, the peace of knowing you can handle your problems. You know, life will always have weather. Some days it will rain, some days it will storm. Some days you'll feel like you can conquer the world, and some days you'll feel like you can barely conquer the kitchen. That's human. But the farmer still plants. The farmer still weeds. The farmer still protects the crop. The farmer does not ask the sky for permission. The farmer understands, if I do the right things in the right season, the harvest will come. And the harvest doesn't care about your mood. The harvest cares about your actions. So here's what I want you to remember when you wake up tomorrow and you don't feel like doing what you know you should do. Your mood is not a message about your future. It's just a feeling passing through. Let it pass. And while it passes, take action. Do the smallest version that still counts. Make the call. Write the page. Take the walk. Read the chapter. Say the truth. Keep the promise. Then let your mood adjust to your leadership. Because the ultimate power is not being happy all the time. That's not the goal. The ultimate power is being able to say, no matter how I feel, I can choose. That's adulthood. That's character. That's strength. And that's the start of a life you can be proud of. Now, if I could sit across from you, just the two of us, and give you one last push, it would be this. Stop asking your mood for permission to become the person you want to be. You already know what to do. You don't need a miracle. You need a method. You need a decision. You need a few daily disciplines practiced when it counts. And when it gets hard, and it will, don't say, this must not be for me. Say, this is what growth feels like. Then take the next step. Because your future's waiting. Not on your mood, on your actions. And the day you truly control your actions, your mood will learn something it's never liked to admit. It's not in charge anymore.